podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
No brakes, no brakes, no fear, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Well, you just never know what the Speedway world is going to throw at you from one week to the next. Who would have predicted a week ago that 2021 World Champion Artem Laguta would be signing for the Kings Lynn Stars? Well, he is, and we've got his boss, Alex Brady, as our special guest in this week's episode.
I got a text around about 9 p.m. from Artem to say, hello, Ty's made contact with me. I hear you're interested in signing me in England. I'm keen to come over and let's try and make it happen. A long chat with Alex Brady about how he managed to bring Artem Laguta to the Adrian Flux Arena. That's all on the way in part 2. We've also got reaction from Monday's Sports Insure Premiership fixtures as the Wolverhampton Wolves closed the gap on the Bellevue Aces at the top of the table.
Yeah, if they told us that this morning we could come away with that, I would be really happy. So I'm stoked for that.
More from Sam Masters and Peter Adams to come. We've also got a little bit of reaction from Stuart Dixon as the Leicester Lions defeated the Peterborough Panthers at the East of England Arena on Monday night. And we hear from the Sheffield team manager Simon Stead and Adam Ellis after their big win over Kings Lynn last week as the Tigers look to face the Stars this Thursday. And if that fixture wasn't already big enough, it will be the debut for Artem Laguta and Kai Thompson as well for the first time. Plus, it was a busy weekend for Grand Prix Challenge qualifiers. A number of riders that feature in British Speedway have made it through. Paco, Castagna and Luke Becker now 5 rides away from the Grand Prix.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along, a bigger chat with Alex Brady on just how he managed to sign Artem Laguta, 2021 World Champion for the Kings Lynn Stars, on the way. But first, we're going to reflect on the action from Monday night in the Sports Insure Premiership as Wolverhampton took 4 league points after an epic day of racing between the top 2 in the league table. The sides fought out a dramatic 45-all draw in Manchester, with the Aces winning a superheat before Wolves edged the evening contest 46-44 at Monmore Green to take the aggregate points. Bellevue fought back from 8 points down at home, with Dan Bewley dominating the closing stages of the meeting, but he and Brady Kurtz were split by Ryan Douglas in Heat 15 to leave the scores level. Dougie then won the superheat after another battle with Bewley, but the crucial factor was third place, and Kurtz steamed around Luke Becker on the final bend to win it for the Aces.
Brady Kurtz urged on. What can Kurtz do here on the final lap? Right around the outside of Luke Becker. Can Kurtz make this stick and give Bellevue the victory? And he has. My word. The captain pulls off the move and Bellevue have taken the victory.
The evening fixture in the Black Country saw Wolves race into a 10-point lead before once again being reeled in by their opponents. 3 advantages out of 4 for the Aces between heats 11 and 14 took it down to a last heat decider. And that's where home skipper Sam Masters stepped up to the plate to keep Kurtz and Bewley at bay to seal victory on the night, as well as the aggregate bonus point. Well, a few interviews following that fixture to come your way. We will hear from Sam Masters very soon. And also we've got a chat with Luke Becker and Paco Castagna, who were involved in that meeting but also have successfully booked their place in the Grand Prix Challenge. That on the way soon. But first, let's hear from team manager Peter Adams with Mike Taylor from BBC Radio WM.
Peter, people who've seen either or both of the meetings today have well and truly had their money's worth from these two teams.
Yeah, tremendous entertainment. I mean, the result's important, obviously, but not as important as being able to put on a fantastic show of racing and commitment and everything that goes with it. So yeah, 2 really good top flight matches.
And well, you hear the response of the crowd here that appreciated that, because for the second time today, Bellevue put you under an awful lot of pressure in the closing heat.
They did, but you know, Sam Masters produced 2 captain's rides in heats 13 and 15 to get us over the line. It's a shame the accident in heat 14, because I rather thought we could wrap the meeting up in that race, and losing Dougie the way we did was, you know, particularly damaging. But Sam saved the day, and we got 4 points on the day, and we're at or very near the top of the league now.
Yeah, well, 4 points from the day is not a bad return, really. I mean, you were close to even more than that, but 4 points is pretty good.
Yeah, very good. It's a bit like with Becker qualifying for the Grand Prix challenge and the success we've had today, it's a bit like tales of the unexpected, really. But no, it's been a good day all round, and we're really pleased.
I mean, that is just a striking performance over the last weekend by Luke Becker, really, to come back from a standing start to his season to get through the Grand Prix qualifier was a terrific achievement, and then do 2 meetings in a day. That's a lot when you've come in cold.
Yeah, he's in a lot of pain, obviously. He's had his painkillers, which gets him through the meeting, but he'll be sore tomorrow for sure. And thankfully, he's got a few days off now before we go to Ipswich on Thursday. But a great effort from him, and I think that he's shown in the last few days that this really could be the season when he steps up.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's 24 now. He's obviously got 2 or 3 seasons of experience, but he's clearly a talented rider, and all that experience plus the talent, he's starting to really bear fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a terrific guy, great rider. His gating's improved a lot. I've noticed in these last few meetings in particular. So long may it continue. Onwards and upwards for him.
Now you've got, I think, 3 away meetings in the next 10 days or so. Clearly you're going to be hard to beat here. You've shown that already this season, undefeated so far. If you can be durable away from home as well as you were at Bellevue, that's a positive combination. But these 3 meetings are going to tell us a lot.
Yeah, when I look back at the 2 meetings we've lost this season at King's Lynn and Leicester, I rather wish we could go there again now, because I think there were points to be had in those 2 meetings that slipped through our fingers. But to cement our position, at or near the top, we really need to win away somewhere soon. And Ipswich and Peterborough next Monday are the next fixtures on the calendar. So hopefully we can do something at one or both of them.
Peter Adams, the Wolves team boss, with Mike Taylor from BBC Radio WM. Well, the rider who certainly helped secure all those league points for Wolves was Sam Masters, the captain of Wolves, who held off Dan Bewley and Brady Kurtz in heats 13 and 15 to secure those all-important points. And here he is with Ryan Guest.
Well, Sam Masters, 4 points out of a possible 5 against Bellevue on Bank Holiday Monday. Got to be happy with the day's work there.
Yeah, if they told us that this morning we could come away with that, I'd be really happy. So I'm stoked for that. I thought we could have won at Bellevue, but luck probably wasn't out. Oh, not really even that. I think it was just a hard-fought meeting, and it was nice to come back here tonight and win.
Yeah, it certainly was. Like you say, it was dramatic with the super heat at Manchester. It set everything nicely coming back here to Monmouth Green, and even with that 10-point advantage partway through again here, the Aces certainly kept you honest and came back at you.
Yeah, they used the tactical at home and at Bellevue, and then again today, and that they got a lot out of that really, and it brought it really close. So I can't complain. All the boys dug deep. I was so happy with them, and hopefully we keep this ball rolling.
I know you had a bit of a tough one at Manchester earlier in the day, and obviously hadn't got a race win from your first 3. So when the pressure was really on as captain and number 1, stepped up to the plate big time in 13 and 15 there. Yeah,
I had got a little bit of an injury that's sort of bugging me a bit. Nothing too major. I think a few days and I should be over it. But it was hard when the track was a little bit patchy, and I struggled a bit.
Yeah, and like I say, the 100% record here at Monmouth Green for the Paris International Wolves, but there really is a feeling that this side hasn't properly clicked and got going yet, obviously with Luke Becker only coming back in for his first Wolves appearance of the season today as well.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have our full team back together, and like you said, I think we've still got more in the tank to push on and do bigger things throughout the year. So we've got a good bunch of guys. We all get on well. We all love turning up to Monmouth Green on a Monday and racing together, and once we all click, I think we'll be dangerous.
Yep, just finally a few meetings on the road coming up now. Starting on Thursday at Ipswich, obviously an 8-point victory lead on the aggregate front as well. So should be an interesting one at Foxhall Thursday.
Yeah, it'll be tough. We've got Verson Doyley and Emil, especially at Ipswich, is going to be hard. So hopefully we can come away with something, which should be hopefully the point, and or even win over there would be nice. But we'll see what happens. It'll be tough, but we're capable of doing anything.
So a close run affair then over the two legs of that one clash between the Bellevue Aces and the Wolverhampton Wolves, with Wolves coming away with 4 league points overall. Also a close affair at the East of England Arena as well, as Max Frick pulled off a vintage Heat 15 ride to see Leicester to a 47-43 win at Peterborough on Bank Holiday Monday, their first victory on the road since rejoining the Sports Insure Premiership. The Panthers needed 2 5-1s in the last 2 races to set up a superheat, and they were halfway towards doing so with maximum points from Richie Worrell and Hans Andersen in Heat 14, and they briefly held the position that they needed in Heat 15 before Frick managed to pass both Michael Palmtoft and Niels Christian Iversen to secure the result for his side, who go third in the league table. Frick won 4 races to finish on 13 points, while Richard Lawson returned from injury with 9 plus 1 bonus point. Justin Sedgman also involved in 2 5-1, scoring 7 plus 2. Reserve Dan Thompson was withdrawn following a crash at the end of Heat 8, and he's likely to be out for a few days with concussion as well. Well, speaking after that match, we can hear from the Leicester team boss Stuart Dixon, who was speaking to Eurosport, and he starts off by clearing up the situation with Dan Thompson.
Dan Thompson took a sore one after the race. We sent him his best wishes. I think he's got a little bit of concussion, so he's a bit banged up. But the rest of the boys pulled together and got us over the line, and we got the 3 points, yeah.
And leading from the top by Max Frick, what a Heat 15 for him, and great to see Richard Lawson not only back in action but scoring.
Yeah, he scored well, Richard. He got his paid 10 tonight. Max Frick, was, as you say, will get the plaudits for winning Heat 15. We knew Gate 3 wasn't great, and Peterborough would go 2 and 4, but that would leave the door open for Max Frick, and the plan was put our strongest rider off the inside gate, and get the win. But for the first lap or so, it looked rather interesting. But we got there in the end. Big support here tonight. Very pleased to see the backing we got, and the fans were rewarded with the Lions doing the business, yeah.
So let's have a look at the Sports Insure Premiership table then, as of the 30th of May, after those Bank Holiday Monday fixtures. And Bellevue Aces are still top of the table. 9 meetings ridden, 14 points on the board. Next, though, and closing the gap significantly after Bank Holiday Monday, Wolverhampton Wolves. 8 meetings ridden and 13 points. So just the 1 point behind with a match in hand for Wolves. Leicester are third at the moment, having ridden 7 meetings and 10 points so far. Ipswich are currently fourth, having ridden 6 and on 8 points. Sheffield are fifth, also ridden 6 on 7 points. And King's Lynn Stars are sixth, ridden 6 meetings and 5 points on the board. Peterborough still prop up the Sports Insure Premiership table. 8 meetings ridden for them and 2 points scored so far. So things are going to get interesting over the next couple of weeks, particularly between Wolves and Leicester, keeping pressure up on Bellevue. Looking ahead to Thursday, there's plenty to look forward to this Thursday evening in the Sports Insure Premiership as the King's Lynn Stars host the Sheffield Tigers. Obviously, we're going to hear more from Alex Brady very soon. He's going to talk all about the Artem Laguta situation and the team changes they've made there. That's coming up in the next part of this podcast. But we're going to hear from Simon Stead first, after Sheffield defeated King's Lynn last Thursday at Oleton, 60 points to 30 to take a big lead into the second leg of this Sports Insure Premiership tie this coming Thursday. So lots to race for King's Lynn for many reasons. Let's hear from Simon Stead now. This was before the news of Artem Laguta came out, looking back on a big win over King's Lynn and looking ahead to the next clash this coming Thursday.
Well, Simon Stead back at Oleton for the first time in 7 weeks, and what a way to return as well.
Yeah, exactly the response that we wanted. We were disappointed at Leicester, and we can't shy away from that. The first step to improvement is acknowledging that you weren't good enough, and we did that, and we've gone some way of rectifying it tonight. Dominant home display, everything I could have asked for. Solid team display as well. Unfortunate from David, who showed real promise in his first 2 rides, so we wish him well. But we coped very well.
Yeah, like you say, the only real downer on the night was David withdrawing after 2 rides. But from the rest of the team, some real pluses tonight, and great to see some confidence back from the likes of Adam in particular.
Yeah, that's right. He just looked a different rider again tonight. He'd made some alterations to his machinery and obviously felt a lot more comfortable. So that was great to see. But when you look down the score chart, they've all had a really good night. But they've been dominant and they were good. I don't think Kings Lynn did anything wrong in particular. I just think we were very good tonight. Great to see Dan Chilks get his maiden win. He really enjoyed that, and again, looks like he's really growing into his role here, so really pleased all round.
Yep, and with the aggregate point back on the line in 2023, now taking a 30-point lead to Kings Lynn next Thursday, so got to be confident of holding on to that as a minimum.
Oh, well, yeah, but I don't take anything for granted. It's a tough place to go, Kings Lynn. I know we've had a good result there already this season, but it is a tough place to go. So we need to carry on from where we've left off tonight, stay dominant, keep doing what we're doing, and try and get another win on the board.
Steady, many thanks for speaking to us.
Well, also speaking after that big win over Kings Lynn was Adam Ellis, who got himself into double figures for the first time this season and only narrowly missed out on a full paid maximum as well, having been beaten in Heat 15. He's also been speaking to Ryan Guest.
Yeah, it's nice to just be back at home, really. It's been a long 7 weeks on the road and in some tricky tracks, and we haven't been racing much, so nice to be back at Sheffield, and everyone was going good tonight. Yeah, it's good to be back in the points.
Yeah, like you say, positives for everyone. Only the only slight negative was David withdrawing after that nasty spill with Ryan Douglas. How is he from what you know?
Yeah, he's not doing too bad. He's nothing's broken or anything, so frustrating for him. He felt good. He said he was going pretty good, and I know he was excited for today to be back. So yeah, kind of unfortunate. Not a lot he could do, and yeah, hopefully it's nothing too serious, and he'll be back soon.
From your own individual point of view, obviously back in double figures, unbeaten from your 4 programme rides as well, and that must be a massive relief for yourself.
It is, mate. Yeah, it's been a tough start to the season over here, and it's been going good everywhere else, and it's just when I come to England that I'm struggling. So it's nice to score some points tonight, and hopefully we've turned that page and we can crack on with some good results.
Fingers crossed indeed. Next Thursday is the next team action for the boys away at Kings Lynn, and obviously with the aggregate point on the line, a 30-point victory is nice on that front as well.
Yeah, it is. We obviously want to be picking up all the aggregate points, like the bonus points. So we can never really let up when we're at home, because we never know what can happen away. So. They could easily go over and turn us over. We don't know what the track's going to be like. Last time we was there, it was tricky. So, yeah, we'll go there and try and get a win away from home, especially.
OK, it might be a little bit more difficult than previously it might have been with the addition of Artem Laguta to the Kings Lynn Stars side. He makes his debut in the Sports Insure Premiership this Thursday at the Adrian Flux Arena. Kings Lynn versus Sheffield, 7:30 the start time. Sheffield go into that 30 points up overall for the aggregate bonus point. And, of course, you want to be there in person. If you can't, though, that fixture will be available to be seen worldwide on BSN, the debut of Artem Laguta, and much more about that signing very soon as well with Alex Brady. The other fixture on Thursday night is at Vauxhall, the Ipswich Witches taking on the Wolverhampton Wolves. Wolves 8 points ahead overall for the bonus point there, but again a big clash that will be eagerly anticipated, I'm sure, Thursday evening, kicking off June's programme. And we can hear from Richie Hawkins, the Ipswich team manager, speaking with Mike Boswell.
Yeah, it'll be another good meeting. Wolves always go well here. I think we did well at their place. So, yeah, we need to we need to improve on tonight. I think we weren't quite strong enough in all areas. Certainly in the middle of the team, with Danny wasn't quite his usual self tonight, or as good as he has been, and then obviously Keenan had a tough one. So we're going to need to improve in that area, and then then obviously we'll be looking to win the meeting, but it's like we need to improve in that area, certainly if we want to take the bonus point. And
then looking ahead to next Monday, just the one fixture in the Sports Insure Premiership, and it'll be one for the Bellevue fans to get excited for, as the Bellevue Aces welcome Emil Saifutinov and Jason Doyle as the Ipswich Witches are in town at the National Speedway Stadium. 7:30 the start time there, and casting ahead to next Thursday, June the 8th. And in the Sports Insure Premiership, it's Kings Lynn versus Bellevue at the Adrian Flux Arena. Leicester versus Ipswich at 7:30, the start time there for that clash. And then at Oleton, it's the Premiership Knockout Cup semi-final first leg, Sheffield Tigers versus the Wolverhampton Wolves. And looking ahead to what's going to be on BSN, because Eurosport having a week off because of the French Open. And next Thursday, that's the 8th, it'll be Leicester versus Ipswich on BSN, by the way, as well. So that rounds up the Sports Insure Premiership and what's been happening and what is coming up. And in the next part, we're having a long chat with Alex Brady, team manager of the Kings Lynn Stars, and a man who's managed to pull off one of the signings, perhaps of all time in British Speedway, bringing in Artem Laguta, the 2021 World Champion, into British Speedway. Hear how it happened in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. Coming up later on, we'll hear from Paco, Castagna and Luke Becker, who have got themselves into the Speedway Grand Prix Challenge, which will take place in August. And they are, among with many other riders, of course, in with a shot of getting themselves into the Speedway Grand Prix Series for 2024. So more about that to come in part 3. But right now, the attention is fully on the Kings Lynn Stars, who've thrown themselves right into the limelight, having pulled off the sensational signing of Artem Laguta, the 2021 World Speedway Champion. He's set to head onto the track for the first time in Thursday's Sports Insure Premiership clash with Sheffield at the Adrian Flux Arena, subject to written international clearance as he races in the UK leagues for the very first time. I'm pleased to say that the Kings Lynn team manager, Alex Brady, is with us, and we're going to talk about lots of things because I'm sure many fans have many questions, and hopefully we will answer them. But Alex, welcome along. What a signing. Take us behind the curtain of how this came about. How do you pull off the signing of a former world champion, a very recent world champion, and bring him to Kings Lynn?
So I'd spoken with Artem's manager, Rafael Levecki, a couple of times in April. And at that point, I believe they'd hung their hat on Sweden and hoping that the door would open there. Obviously, the benefit to them there would be that they'd only need one setup, etc., take their stuff from Poland into Sweden, get the ferry. For various reasons, that's not quite come off. So England came back on the table. And what it was actually, I had tickets to the Warsaw Grand Prix. I was always planning on going. With busy family life and busy work life, I'd sort of thinking I might give this one a miss this weekend. But made a late decision on the Thursday evening to fly out early on the Friday. Funnily enough, with Josh Pickering to go to the meeting. And on the flight home, flying home, sat next to Josh and Josh from Monster as well. But just behind us was Ty Whiffenden. And obviously, as you do, got chatting and had a little talk with him. And he said that there's a chance that Artem may now be interested in England because things have developed slightly. So he put another introduction in for me. That was on the Sunday after the Warsaw Grand Prix around about 9 a.m. He was speaking to Artem for me in the afternoon. And then in the evening, I got a text around about 9 p.m. from Artem to say, hello, Ty's made contact with me. I hear you're interested in signing me in England. I'm keen to come over. Let's try and make it happen. So, a big thank you to Ty for resetting that introduction up, and he obviously talked highly of the Kings Lynn track for him as well. It's a track that should suit him well in terms of what he's used to. Because I understand there was rumours of going to other clubs potentially interested, but Artem felt that the track at Kings Lynn and his manager Raf felt the track at Kings Lynn would be good for him for his development and help him settle into British Speedway. And Ty reinforced that as well. So. Had a bit of a few days of negotiations over the phone, the Monday and the Tuesday. And then on the Wednesday, speaking to Raf, his manager, and we get into the final details of the deal and the finance part. And I said, well, look, Raf, I can tell you're a man that likes to do his business professionally and face to face, and much the same myself. So I said, how about instead of doing this over the phone, over WhatsApp, how about a flight to see you on Friday and see you before the Grosjeans and Wroclaw meeting? So that's what we did. Flew into Bydgoszcz, slept on Nikolai Clint and Frederick Jakobsen's floor at Stansted Hotel on the Thursday evening after our Peterborough match. Flew out early on the Friday, went to see them at the workshop on the Friday morning, and then completed the deal after the meeting in the back of Artem's van. So yeah, it's a pretty whirlwind sort of week, and that day was a sort of a whirlwind 21 hours in Poland. But yeah, I'm glad to see that hard work is that we as a club and me personally, I suppose, have put in that it's coming off, it's paying off.
It's an outstanding signing for Kings Lynn and for British Speedway. Do you think that personal touch of you going out there and doing it in person rather than just conducting it all on WhatsApp or whatever helped show them that you were serious and you were a professional and wanted to be taken seriously?
I think so. It certainly helps me. Obviously, Raf and Artem do speak English, and Raf speaks English very, very well. But this way, there's no worries about a language barrier, shall we say. You're face to face. You can iron out any details. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. To be honest, the professionalism. Anybody that knows Artem and Raf directly will tell you they're two of the most professional people within the sport. Anyone who's had the chance to see Raffles' shop in Bitgosh, Speed Products, you'll see it's the creme de la creme of Speedway. It's, Fredrik Jakobsen described it to me as like a sweet shop for Speedway riders. But everything in terms of their setup is really professional. So yeah, me going out there and doing a deal face to face, I certainly believe that's there was a key factor in completing the deal. I think we probably still would have managed it just about via various communications online, but to get to where we wanted to get to and to make it happen in the manner that it's happened, I think it was important. And it's certainly something that I felt that from a Kings Lynn perspective, it's something that was a good idea to show that British Speedway is doing its best to dare I say catch Poland up again. Certainly we want to be at the forefront of that too.
I think you've shown that you mean business, that you want to get somewhere this season. How much does this deal have to work overall for Kings Lynn now in terms of you've made a significant investment in getting Artem to ride for Kings Lynn? You must be hoping that this is going to make the turnstiles click, but the fans are going to come in. But how much does this have to work now from the fans coming in to support this deal to make it financially viable? Because it is going to be a big commitment.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have the fans back in. We have to be supported. We've been very lucky actually at Kings Lynn that the fans have stuck with us through, tricky couple of years, to be honest. We've not had the greatest success since sort of 2018 kind of period. But we've always been blessed with good crowds. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's no secret that it's a big investment from the club to do this. And obviously, we need people through the gate. It's a gamble. It's a calculated gamble. Don't get me wrong. We've done our sums. We've done them twice. We've done them 10 times. But ultimately, if the Kings Lynn fans have been crying out for number one genuine number one for a long time, and I feel that we've managed to deliver that. And the general noise so far has been good on social media, and people have dropped me messages and things like that, and have said that they'll be there on Thursday and there for the rest of the season. So if we can grow the crowds, then hopefully these sorts of signings aren't just a one-off for just a few months rest of this season. They could be longer term, and who knows what it might lead into in terms of other riders again in the future if Artem has a good time and enjoys himself here.
And with your, promoter's hat on, how do you convert this signing into promotion for the club, into getting people to come down and see Artem ride? I think, with all due respect, there was a big signing made at Peterborough. Nicky Pedersen comes in, but he was of a different era, I would think, because obviously Artem Laguta won the world title in 2021, beating Bartosz Smarslik to it and so on. So obviously he's very current, and you'd argue he'd still be there or thereabouts in the Grand Prix now. So I think we're talking to a different era of rider with Artem, and how do you sell that to the public now? Yeah,
I think nail on the head. I mean, in my personal opinion, right now he's one of the only, if not the only, rider that could consistently compete with Bartosz at the very top table. Obviously you've got some great riders in the Grand Prix like Freddie Lindgren, Ty Wiffernan, and Jason Dawes obviously going great guns so far in that as well. But I think really over the course of the season he would be only one, perhaps Emil too. But yeah, from a promoter's perspective, we need, as you say, bang the drum, make the noise, and get people there. And I think so far so good. We're obviously very, very good traction on social media last night. What we're doing as well as a club, I'm giving out 150 whistles to the first 150 kids that come through the gate on Thursday evening, and also aiming to source some air horns too as well, which we did previously against Ipswich last season, which again got good gates and good people in the door. So just banging the drum, making sure that people are aware, and get as many of our loyal fans to bring a friend, because as I say, for us it's a big investment as a club. It's a big investment from Artem to be here too. We want to make sure that it works for all parties, and on track he's on track. I'm sure he'll deliver the results we want and expect, and I'm sure he'll be able to do that. Off track, he'll bring a huge amount to the rest of the team and just give them that little bit of a boost that they need, and myself and the management included within that too. But it's a combination. If the three things are in harmony, on track in terms of riding, the management and the fans, if we're all pulling in the same direction, it's a bit of a cliche, but we can achieve big things. So I think this change turns us into a team that maybe just about might have gate crashed the playoffs potentially, into a team that's got a real genuine chance of making it. And then obviously, as the old saying goes, once you're in those playoffs, anything can happen. So I know there's 6 other teams that'll be aiming to stop us to get there, and it's not cut and dry or anything like that just by making one signing. But I do believe that signing is certainly going to give us a huge lift that we need, and move us forward. And as I say, hopefully it won't just be a short-term project with Artem. It is just initially for this season, but if he enjoys it, who knows?
So Artem Laguta comes into British Speedway. However, somebody has to make way, and that person is Christoph Kasperzak, first of all. I know there's a couple of changes, but KK makes way, and obviously hugely frustrating. You knew it was a bit of a gamble. Anybody who's followed KK's career knows that perhaps inconsistency can be his sort of greatest downfall, but you know that there's a former world number 2 in there that you were hoping you were going to see more of that KK than the inconsistent one. Mixed bag though, he did get some maximums, but he also had some terrible performances as well. So for you, where did it go wrong?
Away from home, to be honest. His home form was excellent. 15-point maximum against Wolverhampton. And I think Pete Adams himself said that you could have put anybody on track against him that night and he'd have beaten anybody. Again, he got double figures against Sheffield, and against Peterborough, our other home match, he scored, I believe, 11. So he was certainly brilliant around the flux, but just failed to replicate that away, which was disappointing. And look, I mean, I said at the start of the season, I felt he was a bit of a gamble. He leaves with my best wishes. He was professional in the sense of he was always turning up. His kit was immaculate. He turned up with the right mindset, but just for whatever reason, away from home, he just couldn't make it work. And from a perspective of the aggregate bonus point this season makes a huge bearing in the league table. And whilst our home form has been good in the league, we've been leaving ourselves far too much to do with the away fixtures to get those bonus points. So that's why we had to make the change. And KK is a rider that divides opinion. When we, like I say, as you say, when we signed him, it was some people expected brilliance, others expected him to be beaten by the rising star, and others you never quite know. And as I say, he leaves in my best wishes. He did the best of his abilities, certainly for us at home. But it was just too much to carry those performances away from home. And with the way we built the side without a genuine number 1 at that point, I'll hold my hands up. I think we made a slight mistake, and ultimately we got it slightly wrong. But hopefully the fans now can see that we've done our best to rectify it in the best possible way we can. And I genuinely believe that we've signed the best, if one of the best, if not the best rider in the world right now. So hopefully that will start to turn our season around, beginning on Thursday against Sheffield.
Artem Laguta coming in and Christoph Kasperzak on the way out. Not the only change for the Kings Lynn Stars then, because you've also made a big change as well, big call, leaving out Josh Pickering, your current captain. Obviously his injury situation is well known, and he tried to come back and it wasn't overly successful last week. Now, I think your aim is to get Josh back in the side, isn't it, in time? But that won't be for at least 28 days. He has to be out for at least that. Coming in, though, is Kai Thompson, also a fellow Edinburgh Monarch in the Cab Direct Championship alongside Josh Pickering. So another Australian into the side. And Kai's first appearance, though, at Sports Insure Premiership level with the Kings Lynn Stars this Thursday.
Yeah, well, the door's definitely not shut on Josh. I'm certainly, my intention is that he'll be back racing for us as soon as he's available to do so. And that obviously keeps rising on the toes. It's down to Kai to prove that, this opportunity that he's got is one that he can take. And if it is, then it's down to the rest of the guys in the 1 to 5 to make sure that they're riding well enough to make sure that it's not them that potentially gets replaced by Josh. So, Kai is a rider, I feel, that goes under the radar slightly. He's always been that kind of second or sort of third heat leader for Edinburgh. And obviously riding in a team with Josh, rightly gets a lot of the praise and the plaudits for his style. Then obviously last year he had Sam Masters with him, and obviously this year Craig Cook. So his scores are always solid. He never often gets a heat 15 because of those having those two with him. But yeah, he's a rider that we actually tried to sign last year when we were making our changes with Nicola and Fred coming in, but he didn't hold the right visa at that point. So and it just in terms of time frames, it wouldn't have quite worked. So it's been in the making for a little while. He's a really, really, really talented motorcyclist. And whilst he's not been to many of these tracks previously, I think he'll adapt quickly. And obviously having Artem at number 1 will just take that pressure off a little bit, because, I think if he'd come into the side, a couple of weeks ago, for instance, with the makeup of the body we had, it would have, he would have had a lot more pressure on his shoulders. He knows he's there to score points, but it's something that he's, hopefully all being well, Artem's going to go out and perform in Heat 1, so he can go out in Heat 2 with a little less pressure on him. And I was speaking to Jason Edwards just briefly before this. He's on his way up to Glasgow for a meeting today, and he said Kai's one of those riders that goes under the radar. He's not spectacular in terms of his style, but he'll do a really solid job, and always gets you 7, 8, 9 points a meeting in the Championship. And if we can convert that into 3s, 4s, and 5s in the Premiership, something like that, then I think we've got a really good rider on our hands. And a special thank you as well to the Edinburgh promotion, John and Alec, for being able to give us the opportunity to sign him too. Again, easy to deal with, and it's good when a sort of a plan comes together, shall we say.
Yeah, as the famous saying goes in the A-team. There's also been a statement put out this last week with Keith Chapman, who's moved to clarify his position as owner of both Kings Lynn and Peterborough amid rumours of rider movement at various Sports Insure Premiership clubs. And he's cleared up what he actually owns, and actually he's cleared up that he owns very little in terms of the day-to-day running of the club, the financial affairs and all that to do with Kings Lynn is all in the hands of others. And he's also suggested that really the reins are being taken over by yourself and Dale Allett, and Keith Chapman's involvement really is largely around the ownership and the running of the stadium. So just to explain really how that's all working going forward now, and how you're taking a greater involvement of the day-to-day running of the club, which in some ways makes sense, of course, because you run a business yourself in Norfolk, and you have experience of running businesses with Miners and Brady estate agents, of course, which is where the name comes from. So just to explain really how that's going to work.
Kings Lynn's a club very, very close to my heart. It has been since I was 4 years old. I went to my first meeting in 1995 and saw Mark Loran win Heat 1, and I was hooked from that day on. And I never imagined I'd be in the position I'm in now, for being really honest. But obviously very thankful for the opportunities I've been given. And yeah, I see Kings Lynn as a bit of a sleeping giant, if I'm honest. Buster owns the stadium. He's very flexible in terms of what we can and can't do with that. It's been run obviously very successfully over a number of years in terms of, it's one of the few tracks that's, been consistently going, and, obviously never really been a huge amount of danger in terms of having to, find a new home or, find external investment to keep it going, which obviously over the years, as we've seen, unfortunately, lots of clubs disappear and come and go, and promotions come and go. So, hats off to Buster for what he's done for that. But by his own admission, he's coming to the end of the road, slightly in terms of, what he wants to do. And, he's put so many years and hard graft into this sport. Kept many clubs going, and people will see bits and pieces that he's done, but behind the scenes, he's done far more than anyone could ever imagine. he really has got British Speedway running through his veins, believe it or not. And he's now looking to sort of wind down and enjoy life. Get out in his motorhome a bit more and see a bit more of the world. And I don't blame him. He's worked tirelessly for years. And how many other club owners have been out there at 5 a.m. on the morning of a meeting to do the track, and be there until 11 p.m. that same day, over a 30-year period. Not many. He deserves that. He deserves that break, and he deserves that time with his his family and his grandchildren. And him and Cheryl, his wife, I feel they've earned it. So myself and Dale will be looking after the business for him, and from a perspective of long-term future with Kings Lynn, it's something that I want to secure, and getting out to do more in the community, and getting the riders out more in the community in the town. And I think I've seen Oxford do it really well recently, and I take my hat off to them down there. Getting Jordan Jenkins out into schools and things like that. That's the kind of thing we want to be moving forwards with, inspiring the next generation. I think the biggest change we've made off track is that we don't charge under 16s anymore. Every under 16 comes in for free. And I want to try and, not just look at the here and now. There's a vision, there's a plan, a 5-year plan to try and get Kings Lynn, really eating at the top table again. If that's what the fans want us to do. If the appetite is there from the fans, then the appetite is certainly there from myself, Dale, and everybody else involved. So from that perspective, running the business isn't something that phases me whatsoever. As you mentioned, I do it day to day, day in, day out with my professional life in terms of estate agency. And there's lots and lots of similarities, believe it or not. There's lots of interchangeable things that we can do and work with, and I feel that it's a challenge for sure. Obviously, Speedway faces variety of different challenges across the board, but in Kings Lynn is in a good place, and I believe that Buster's been a safe pair of hands for many years, and I want to continue that to make sure that it will be for many more years to come.
One of the things that Phil Morris has talked about when we've spoken to him, of course, the CEO of the Sports Insure Premiership, is getting younger fans in, getting in front of those eyes. Leaflets and posters are all well and good, but people these days are on their phones. Are you, with your age being younger than probably many promoters and so on in Speedway, are you looking at ways to improve how Kings Lynn appeals to that kind of crowd and get younger people in via digital means?
I think so, yeah. And we've got, with my professional business, we have a full marketing team that our social media traction is brilliant. And one of the things I plan to do is integrate the two. So my marketing team that work for Alex Brady will take on some extra mantle alongside the brilliant guys at MP Media, just to try and increase that coverage. And I was actually having this conversation, funny enough, yesterday with another promoter. I went to a meeting yesterday, and I was talking about what is the biggest platform now in terms of social media. And obviously Instagram is well used, and Facebook and Twitter, but the biggest one used at the moment is TikTok. And I think that we're probably missing a bit of a trick there. Speedway should be, in my opinion, the most marketable sport in terms of, it's certainly motorsport at least, because you see the whole race unfold in front of you in a minute. And let's face it, attention spans are shorter and shorter as the more media we get, and the more as more time goes on, people's attention span is shortening down. And gone are the days where people sit and watch hour-long YouTube video. These days, it is just short, sharp, and that's what Speedway is. So, yeah, it's something that I want to try and improve. I think that we've made a conscious effort over the winter. Trying to engage more fans and trying to engage more with more content, but definitely there's new levels we can take it to. And we have a full-time videographer at Alex Brady. We're about to employ a second one, and once he's settled in, then he'll be doing some extra content for us as well. Behind the scenes stuff that fans don't get to see very often. So that for me is a massive quick win to try and draw these younger people in, the younger crowd in. Because ultimately, the demographic of Speedway fans is at sort of the top end. So we know that we've missed a generation or two, perhaps, but I'm keen to make sure that we capture the current one.
One other thing that maybe people will say about your position being the team manager is that how can you manage a team of riders when you've never been a rider yourself? I'm sure it's a question that's been levelled at you a number of times, but just to get your thoughts on that. And also now moving into this new era where you are going to be the team manager of somebody who 2 years ago was the world champion. And maybe there's a bit of a language barrier there potentially. I'm not sure how good Artem's English is, but maybe you can explain that as well. But how's that going to work when you've got somebody that you don't know very well, who's been right to the very top of Speedway? How do you motivate that kind of person? How do you manage him basically, and with the rest of the team?
Yeah, definitely. And it's it obviously will be a different sort of style, a different challenge perhaps. Artem's English is manageable. He can speak relatively okay English. What we have got is a good translator in Fredrik Jakobsen who can speak fluent Polish. So that will certainly help. And that is with the change we've made. That's hence why we've made Fredrik the captain moving forwards as well. Because I feel that will just ease Artem in a little bit. Nikolai can speak good English too. Good Polish too, so he can interchange between the two. But yeah, I mean, the criticism aired at me obviously quite often is, you're right, you've never ridden a bike. How can you tell these riders what to do? But to that end, my opinion is quite simple. At the end of the day, the people on the bike are human, and if you can get into the human element of these people and find out what makes these people tick and what motivates these people, what is their why? Why are they doing what they do? Is it just to earn money? Is it to be the number one? Is it to be, I want to progress my career so I can get a move to a big club in Poland? Is it what is it? And if you can get drill down to those bits and pieces within someone's mindset, I don't think it really matters too much that I've not been on a bike. And some of the best managers in Speedway have never ridden a bike. Some of the best football managers in the Premier League have never played football at a good standard. So I understand the criticism aimed at me there in that respect, and I fully accept it. And people are entitled to their opinions. And fortunately, I've got quite a thick skin that this stuff doesn't bother me, because some of this stuff has got quite personal in the early months of this season. But whilst I'll always take constructive criticism, people that criticise for criticising's sake is just a waste of energy. I don't pay too much attention to it. But if there's something constructive within it that I can take away, I'll always look at it. But yeah, Artem, you're right, is going to be slightly different in terms of what we've had before. But as I say, he's still a human being that rides that bike, and he's still got the same desire as all of us to win. So if we can just knit it together and work out exactly what is his motivation, why does he want to be doing it, then I think we can work well, and as I say, build a long term relationship.
You've all kind of answered one of my other questions as well, which was with Josh Pickering out of the side, who was going to take over the captaincy, and you just cleared up there. Fredrik Jakobsen's going to do that. And on the subject of Fredrik, actually a bit more good news really for Kings Lynn, in that Fredrik is one of those riders that's through to the Grand Prix challenge in Sweden in August, I think it is, isn't it? And potentially 5 rides away from being a Grand Prix rider himself. Yeah, massive for the club, but I mean really important for Fred too. And he's a rider that goes under the radar slightly again. He performs really well. He's very, very committed to the sport in the sense of everything he does, he thinks about Speedway. And the main reason he's in England, to be honest, because obviously he joined partway through last year, is purely for that purpose. He wants to make himself a better rider. And he feels that, obviously technical tracks in England and sort of slightly different materials and, compared to what he's used to in Poland and to a lesser degree Denmark, will kick him on to get to the goals he wants to get to. And he's realistic in what he wants to achieve. He knows what he wants. He knows the steps how to take to get there. And yeah, over the moon for him, to be honest, that he's made the challenge final. And I've been clearing my calendar in mid-August to get out to Sweden to be there with him as promised. So yeah, he's a rider that I feel is slightly underestimated. I mean, if you look at the field he beat, and obviously in his runoff he beat, another fantastic rider in Robert Lambert to make it. So, he's certainly no slouch. He scores in Poland. He didn't have a particularly good one on Friday night. Perhaps he was slightly distracted, but his scores in Poland have been generally pretty good. And when I went to see them, Grujons versus Wrocław, he scored a paid 9 against a team with Dan Bewley, Ty Wuffenden, Artem, Pavlicki, Janowski, and then Kowalski had won a heat in the Grand Prix the week before. So, he's a very, very, very good rider, and he's not quite hit the form he would want to hit so far in England. He's had a couple of indifferent meetings, but I think he's not too far away from getting it right for us. And once he clicks along with the new balance of the team, it's going to be
it's going to give us some real impetus. And yeah, I'd love nothing more than to see Fred make the Grand Prix. He's not only is he a brilliant rider, he's a brilliant person, and very focused on what he's trying to achieve. So yeah, he's deserving of what he's achieved so far, and he'll know the job's only half done. So yeah, looking forward to Sweden with him in the middle of August, and hopefully, as you say, 5 rides away, and yeah, could be the next Kim Nielsen in qualifying. Who knows?
Yeah, and a few other well-known names. Obviously, Jack Holder is one of them that's also in there. Paco Castagna is also in too, and Luke Becker. We'll hear from Paco and Luke in the final part of the podcast, by the way, as well. Right now, let's turn our attention then to this big fixture on Thursday. Kings Lynn versus Sheffield. Artem Laguta's debut, Kai Thompson's debut in Stars colours as well. You're 30 points down on aggregate, though. It's not impossible to overcome, but sets up a big fixture nonetheless.
Yeah, a big crowd will be fantastic. It's also on BSN as well, so anyone who's not available to get trackside will be a welcome watch for them as well, I'm sure, to see Artem. But I think people love to see him in the flesh too. So it is a challenge. We left ourselves with a heck of a lot of work to do with the away leg last week. But for me, a successful night would obviously be, get an aggregate bonus point and winning on aggregate. But just settling in well with a good solid team win will be the first target, and then anything beyond that will be an absolute bonus. But Artem going out in Heat 1 is at sort of 7:30, 7:45 time on Thursday evening is going to be a sight that I think a lot of people are going to want to see. And I'm expecting a big crowd, expecting a big turnout and lots of noise. And as I say, I think this would be not just a shot in the arm for Kings Lynn, but also for British Speedway. I think it's a brilliant move, and puts us up there with your Ipswich of the world, having Jason Doyle and Emil, and your Bellevues with Dan, and Sheffield with Toby and Jack Holder, and everybody else included. So it's going to be certainly going to be an interesting sort of, I say, second half of the season, sort of final 2/3 of the season for us. Really looking forward to what challenges we get from here on in.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him in action. I'm going to be commentating for BSN on Thursday, and looking forward to seeing him. And you see the buzz it brings around a place signing a rider like that. You've seen it at Ipswich with Emil, and it'd be interesting to see how it goes for Artem. And he's not ridden any league speedway here ever before, has he? So it's not just a debut for Kings Lynn; it's a debut in British League Speedway for him.
No, he's never been. He's done the Speed of Nations at Bellevue and I believe Cardiff as well. Other than that, he's never raced here, and never even been. So he's due in on a ferry on Wednesday. He'll have a quick look on Wednesday evening, have a little look, and just have a sort of a walk of the track, and then straight into action Thursday. So a quick turnaround for him. But it's a track that I think it should suit his style. Should suit his style really well, and it's going to be, as you say, one that's going to capture imagination, I think, for people all over the globe, because for him to be in his league debut of racing here in the UK at the age of 32, doesn't happen that often. And a rider of his calibre coming to the UK doesn't happen that often. Certainly hasn't done for a number of years. I know there's been a few with Emil and bits and bobs coming back, but I can't remember the last time a world champion signed, a fresh world champion signed into the UK that hadn't ridden here the season before. Obviously didn't get a chance to defend his title in 2022, so. He's really is at top pedigree. So Thursday night will be interesting, and I'm sure I know he's keen to make a really good impression and pay some of the love back that he's already got from the fans. And it's been a whirlwind sort of 24, 48 hours since we've announced him. But it's going to be a big one.
Is he going to be jetting in and out? Is he going to be spending some time in the Norfolk area? How are you going to integrate him into Norfolk lifestyle?
Well, first of all, get him on a tractor, probably. One of Buster's tractors. We're famous here in Norfolk, but no, he's going to be spending bits of time here. Majority of the time still back in Poland, but he wants to be in England more so than just race days. He wants to be here a day early and a day after if he can. Practicing at other tracks around the country as well, and he might be doing some other meetings as well in addition to Kings Lynn League fixtures potentially. So that'd be a good one for fans to keep their eyes on. He's committed to this. He's very dedicated to it. He's not just one of these people that's going to fly in at 3:00 on a race day and be disappearing at 9:30 as soon as the meeting's over. He wants to immerse himself in sort of British speedo culture, and yeah, it's something that he said to me openly and via his manager. It's something that they've wanted to do for a long time, and obviously logistics haven't allowed, and obviously scheduling hasn't allowed over recent years. But now that he's got the opportunity to do so, he wants to take full advantage of it and prove and show to people. And he said he's always had good love from the, in terms of the Grand Prix from British fans. He wants to give some of that faith back. So yeah, it's going to be a two-way street, should we say? It's not just going to be all the fans sort of laying it to Artem. He wants to give something back to them as well, which again is refreshing from a promoter's perspective. That we've got a rider there that wants to be part of the culture and part of the DNA of the club, should we say?
Great stuff, and it's it's a great signing. It's a great signing for Kings Lynn. It's a great signing for British Speedway as a whole. But it's fantastic to have another rider that people are going to want to see. Regardless of what the fixture might throw up, you've got another rider there that people are going to want to see, and we've got a few of those riders now, like Dan Bewley, like Emil Sayfutnov, like now Artem Laguta, Jack Holder, Grand Prix level riders that are just crowd pullers for any meeting, and you're fascinated to see how they go up against the respective other big gun in those sides.
Big draw cards, absolutely. I think as you say, every club has got one, and yeah, it's great to see. A couple of years ago, who'd have thought that we'd be seeing, Artem Laguta and Emil Sayfutnov and all these big names in British Speedway again. And obviously, when Dan went back to Dan didn't do England for a year. He's obviously back at Bellevue. It's brilliant for the sport, brilliant for everything here. And I hope that the fans around the country, will come out in their numbers to see Artem at their tracks, and yeah, same with Kings Lynn fans coming to see him here as well. But you're right. I mean, it's that certainly this year it's moved up a notch, and hopefully that can continue. We can continue to grow and firmly put ourselves second in the world table behind Poland, and step ahead of Sweden, and then catch Poland one day. That's obviously has to be the goal for British Speedway to be back at number one as the place to be. It's going to be a long challenge, but it's a challenge that I know lots of promoters are up for, and why not? We were number one previously in Poland. To their credit, have done a brilliant job to get themselves there, and it's down to us. The onus is on us now as promoters and as a sport to bring ourselves back to those levels. So. Yeah, I think this is the first step in doing so, bringing in these big names and bringing in riders that, I call them bums on seat riders that will get fans in attendance. And then, ultimately it's a simple science. The more fans that attend, the bigger the budgets that clubs have, the better calibre of rider they can attract. And it's a consistent cycle. So yeah, it's something that hopefully, as I say, it captures the imagination of everybody. And every track sees a spike in their attendances, and looking forward to seeing what can come of this, later this season and obviously in years to come.
Just one other question, actually, back to the deal with Artem. In the press release that you put out, you thanked various people, Ty Wolfenden being one, but another was Mark Phillips, who is the owner, the co-promoter of the Plymouth Gladiators. And so it was just a sort of bit of an unusual name to be linked with Artem Laguta, but just sort of what his involvement was really and how that came about.
So obviously Artem requires a visa, and Kings Lynn slots are fully used up with a couple of things that we've done. So Plymouth had a spare spot, so Mark has kindly offered to loan us one of his spots, or effectively to sign Artem loaning to us for all intents and purposes. So yeah, it's a massive thank you to him and Nigel Lee, who's facilitated it as well to help. It's good to see, from my opinion, obviously we're not direct rivals, we're in different leagues, but it's good to see promoters working together to try and make this happen, because without that visa slot, Artem wouldn't be able to sign for Kings Lynn. So yeah, it's a massive thing there, and he deserves a lot of credit there for working with us to do that, because as I say, without him it wouldn't have been possible. So yeah, that's the connection, and as I say, again, a massive thank you to Mark and Plymouth for being able to facilitate that for us, and Nigel as well to make it happen. So yeah, that's the connection. You probably won't see him going around Plymouth anytime soon on a 12-point average, but stranger things have happened. You never know.
So technically, for the Plymouth fan, they have signed a former world champion, but he's loaned straight back out to Kings Lynn. That's kind of the technicalities of it.
Pretty much, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, for want of a better like terminology. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Fascinating. Okay, well, that clears that up. Well, look, great speaking with you, Alex. We'll see you on Thursday. Hopefully many people will, whether they're watching online or indeed there in person, because you're going to want to see it in person. You've got to be there and say you were there, I think, because, as you say, these kind of signings don't happen very often. And, of course, if you can't catch this meeting against Sheffield, then look out for Artem wherever he's heading, and say you're going to be heading out to all of the clubs yet, because you've got the second round of fixtures still to come, and plenty more action in the Sports Insure Premiership, not just in the league, but of course you've got the pairs as well at Leicester, so potentially he might ride in that, I don't know, but plenty of chances to see him, and an interesting second half of the season beckons, I think. Yeah,
it's going to be a real big challenge for us to sort of play catch up a little bit, but every track he goes to, I'm sure he'll want to perform, and not just for Kings Lynn, but as I say, the British public. And we still have to go to places like Bellevue twice, which I'm sure he'll be very comfortable with. Leicester a couple of times, Sheffield again, Peterborough again, and others. So it's going to be exciting. He's really up for the challenge, and I'm just really looking forward to. I can't wait for Thursday evening, and I have to agree. I think it needs to be one of those I was there moments, because, as you mentioned, signing a rider this calibre, aside from perhaps Bartosz Szmazlik, I don't think there's anything really it could have got the British public, British Speedway public, in this kind of excitement. So it's something that Thursday night is going to be a special time. And when he goes out for Heat 1, I'll take a moment just to think, brilliant, we've got him, and then 60 seconds later, hopefully I'll be greeting him at the pit gate with 3 points to his name.
Yeah, and some big matchups in that clash, of course, with Sheffield. You've got Tobias Musilak. In fact, Toby moves to number 1, doesn't he, for Thursday, and Jack Holder will be further down the order. So it won't be a Heat 1 clash with Jack Holder, but nonetheless, it's going to happen, isn't it, during the meeting? Yeah, it's Toby moves to 1. I think Jack's at 5. So Heat 13 will be an interesting one for sure. Yeah, certainly will. Heat 13 is always a big one, but maybe even more so in that fixture. Look, thanks a lot, Alex, for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing how it goes on Thursday night. Thanks, Ian. Yeah, let's see what happens. Thanks, Ian. Alex Brady, team manager of the Kings Lynn Stars, and as we've learned there, ever increasingly getting his co-promoter's hat on as well, alongside Dale Allett at the Kings Lynn Stars too. I hope you enjoyed that chat and found it useful, and we will see how Artem Laguta gets on. Of course, be there in person, Adrian Flux Arena on Thursday night, 7:30 the start time for the Kings Lynn Stars versus the Sheffield Tigers. And if you can't be there, that fixture will be live on BSN as well. Search Watch Speedway on social media or indeed online, and you can watch it wherever you are in the world. But of course, if you are in Norfolk, it's going to be a nice night, and what better way to spend your evening than watching a recent world champion joining the Kings Lynn Stars. So in the final part of No Brakes, No Fear, we'll hear from Luke Becker and Paco Castagna after they booked their passage through to the Grand Prix Challenge, which takes place in August. But each of those riders now into the final hat of who is going to be in the 2024 Grand Prix lineup. We'll hear about their experiences in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast.
So in this final part, we're going to hear from a couple of riders who have got themselves into the Grand Prix Challenge, which takes place at Gislaved in Sweden. 19th of August is the date, and from this, 3 riders will guarantee their passage through to the Speedway Grand Prix Series for 2024. Of course, there will be further spots to be defined by wildcards, by those, of course, qualifying. Top 6 from this year's series will get through as well. So this is not the be-all and end-all, but it is a way for riders that are not in the Grand Prix Series to get in, basically. And here are the riders who are in that race-off. So at least 3 of these will be heading through to the 2024 Grand Prix Series. Martin Vasilik, these are not in any draw order, by the way, just the riders in any old order. Vasilik, Wozniak, Becker, Fredrik Jakobsen, which we touched on earlier, Piotr Pawlicki, Nico Kovati, Jan Kvek, Paco Castagna, Jason Doyle, Dmitry Burge, Martin Smolinski, Premysław Pawlicki, Andre Lebedevs, Jack Holder and Michael Jepsen Jensen and Jakob Torsell are the riders, of which, say, 3 of which at least will be going through to the Grand Prix series. So let's hear from a couple of those who were riding in the Bellevue versus Wolves meeting, in fact, on Monday. We'll hear from Paco Castagna in just a moment. But first of all, Luke Becker. And don't forget that this was a qualifier that took place on the track that he broke his leg on a few weeks ago, and it was his very first meeting back in Speedway as well. Luke Becker talking to Ryan Guest.
Well, Luke Becker, you made your comeback to racing on Saturday in Slovakia, qualified through to the Grand Prix Challenge as well. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was awesome. That definitely wasn't something I was expecting. I was more happy just to be there. Of course, my goal was to qualify, but to be honest, didn't know if that was going to happen or not. So it was yeah, it was awesome, to make a comeback like that was great, and, just made me miss it even that much more. So I'm stoked to be back. Kind of don't really feel 100% yet, I'm not feeling where I can attack the track like I normally would, and in certain situations I'm a bit timid on, but of course that's normal when I'm having what I'm having. So I'm hopefully that goes away soon here and can get back to what I feel is normal. Yeah,
obviously rode superbly in the programme rides in Slovakia as well. Nevertheless, had to go through it the hard way as well in that 3-man runoff. So to come through it in that's even more impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, it would have been better to score an extra point and be straight through, but yeah, made it exciting and something I'm happy with. So. Hopefully we could just kind of keep the, I'm not on crazy form. That was good, but just keep some decent points on the board and do my job for the team and keep chipping away.
To have Greg Hancock in your corner as well, obviously to make the trip out there with you as well, that was a massive advantage and a big help and something you're very grateful of as well.
Exactly. We talked about this, before the season even started, about him coming with me for that, and. With the injury, we didn't really know exactly what was going to happen, so it was a bit of last-minute planning. But yeah, he's a great guy to have in your corner. He's really smart, and when it comes to helping out and advice and voicing what he sees. So having him just tell me, having somebody in the pit that's been there, done that with everything, and giving me tips and pointers was awesome. And hopefully we can have more of that. Yeah, and it may sound cliche, but it's fact 5 rides away from being a Grand Prix rider full-time as well. How does that sound? Yeah, it's insane. It's a dream of mine, and hopefully if I can, just have another night with luck on my side, and we can see what will happen. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, well done to Luke Becker, who of course was our main guest last week on this podcast. So listen to last week's episode to hear more about Luke building up to that fixture. But now, of course, you know that he got through. Also, well done to Paco Castagna, who's won a new army of fans with his guest appearances for Bellevue over the last couple of weeks. But if you're an Edinburgh fan or maybe a Birmingham fan, indeed a Sheffield fan, you know what Paco's all about. He's the son of Armando Castagna, who these days, of course, presides over, all of Speedway track racing at the FIM, but a legend in his own right as well. But now Paco gets his chance to follow in his dad's footsteps and have a crack at the world's biggest Speedway prize. Here is Paco Castagna on getting through to the Grand Prix Challenge.
I was unbelievable. I think if you look at the lineup of the challenge, if there's one name that is kind of shocking to see there, it's me, and I'm overwhelmed about it. And, it was a beautiful night. I felt fantastic, and in front of 5,000 people, it's home crowd as well. So it was good, and yeah, very happy about it. I was
going to say, did that make it even more special, the fact it was in front of such a big crowd, and where you were one of the home favourites as well?
Yeah, 100%. The pressure was on us, and we delivered very good heats, very good racing, and the people was very happy and supportive, so it was good. It's been lots and lots and lots of years of hard work and dedication to the sport, and it's a little result that makes me smile and makes me want to go forward again. Yeah, obviously you've always been very, very determined. Haven't always had the easiest of opportunities come your way. Like you say, you've had to put a lot of dedication, a lot of hours in. So to think now you're just 5 rides away from a potential place in the Grand Prix Series, is that pretty surreal? Yeah, don't say it again because you make me cry, man. No, it's that's how it is. I mean, we're very close. I know I'm not a GP rider now, but if this makes me work harder and get closer, then why not? I'm just gonna go there and have fun, and I know that when I have fun, I ride good. So like I did tonight, really. So yeah, slowly and steady, we take a step in the right direction. Keep walking. The team is working hard, so we're close.
Yeah, well done to Paco, Castagna and to all of the others involved in that Grand Prix challenge for a place in the 2024 Speedway Grand Prix series. It takes place in Sweden in August. And also a special mention to Paco Castagna's moustache, which has received the ultimate notoriety and endorsement from Kelvin Tatum on Eurosport on Monday night.
That is a moustache. I tell you what, you can be proud of something like that, that's for sure. Paco Castagna certainly making his mark.
Yeah, you know your moustache has made it when it's being commentated on by Kelvin Tatum. It's not a phrase I would have been expecting to say in this podcast today, but that's exactly where we're at. And that's pretty much where we go as far as this week's podcast is concerned. Before we wrap up, we'll have a look at the fixtures for the week ahead, starting on Wednesday, May 31st. And we're rounding out May with some Cab Direct Championship action, the Knockout Cup semi-final second leg between the Pool Pirates and the Oxford Cheetahs at 7:30 at Wimborne Road, and the British Youth Championships takes place in Birmingham at 7:30. Thursday, June the 1st, Sports Insure Premiership. That fixture we've been talking about, the Kings Lynn Stars versus the Sheffield Tigers. Artem Laguta's debut, along with that of Kai Thompson as well, in a new look Kings Lynn side. 7:30 the start time. You can watch that live on BSN if you're unable to be there in person. Of course, if you are there in person, you might get yourself a free whistle or an air horn. There's lots of things going to be happening there that night. Of course, school holidays continue as well, so make it a family night out if you can. At Vauxhall, it's the Ipswich Witches versus the Wolverhampton Wolves, with Wolverhampton an 8-point lead on aggregate there for the bonus point. Friday, Cab Direct Championship, Glasgow Tigers versus the Birmingham Brummies, and the Scunthorpe Scorpions versus the Redcar Bears, both getting underway at 7:30. Scunthorpe versus Redcar will also be live on BSN's Championship coverage. National Development League, it's the Edinburgh Monarchs Academy versus the Oxford Chargers at 7:30 at Armadale. On Saturday, June 3rd, National Development League, Berwick versus Oxford at 7pm, Leicester versus the Bellevue Colts at 7pm, and the Workington Comets against the Mildenhall Fen Tigers at 3pm at Northside. Workington currently heading the National Development League table so far, and there's British Youth Championships taking place at Edinburgh as well. That all kicks off at 1:30 at Armadale. Sunday, National Development League, Mildenhall versus the Bellevue Colts, and that's at 4pm. And British Youth Championships move to Workington at 12 noon. On Monday, June 5th, just the one fixture in the Sports Insure Premiership, Bellevue Aces versus the Ipswich Witches at 7:30 at the National Speedway Stadium. The fixture between the Peterborough Panthers and the Wolverhampton Wolves has been postponed and will be rearranged for another day. And then next Tuesday, June the 6th, Cab Direct Championship, Plymouth Gladiators versus the Pool Pirates at 7pm. National Development League, Oxford Chargers versus Mildenhall at 7:30. And that's the next week. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode reviewing all of that, and I'm sure much more besides, with whatever the week throws at us in the world of Speedway. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, keep up to date with everything happening in British Speedway on our social media pages. Rapid updates will be always there on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And you can also keep up to date with all the news stories as well online, britishspeedway.co.uk for all the information. And we'll be back next Wednesday for the next episode of No Brakes, No Fear. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. Totally free to do, but it just means that you won't miss any future episodes. And of course, check out our previous episodes as well if you haven't already and you're new. We've got loads of stuff to work your way back through. Our guest last week was Luke Becker. Recently, we spoke to Stuart Dixon, the manager of the Leicester Lions. We've also got a chat with Phil Morris, the CEO of the Sports Insure Premiership as well. All that to work your way back through, and many more besides. And we'll be back with you next Wednesday on the next episode of No Brakes, No Fear. Have a great week.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Sports Social Podcast Network.